The attack began without sound. In the cold, empty vastness surrounding Zoluvian Forward Base Alpha, nothing stirred, until the stars themselves seemed to shift. Without warning, ships appeared like ghost apparitions, displacing space with violent elegance. Sleek Terran warcraft, cloaked and silent, emerged from FTL with surgical coordination. Within the base's outer ring, Commander Trilvar reviewed station security data while sipping spiced thal root extract. His third eye twitched at an anomaly on the perimeter grid, a faint flicker, then nothing. Another phantom ping, he muttered. Probably dust on the lens. But the lens wasn't dirty. It was blind. Far below the radar field, Terran recon squads moved in synchronized silence. Black suits. No lights. Thermal signatures scrubbed. They moved through the vacuum like shadows birthed from darkness itself. Captain Laura Kane led the infiltration, her team crawling across the surface like spiders toward an external comms array. Cutting feet in 10, she whispered. Blades ready. Back on the TDS Helix, Vorn watched through her visor feed. No orders, no oversight. Just quiet trust. That was his way, select those who needed no pushing and let them perform. 7 seconds to blackout, Kane said. We're in. Inside the base, the lights blinked once, then died. Panic was immediate. Sirens tried to wail but glitched into static. Airlock stuttered. Power surged, then vanished. Across the Zoluvian base, soldiers scrambled, but doors refused to open, weapons failed to initialize, and targeting systems showed only black. By the time emergency power kicked in, the station's spine had already been broken. Then came the music. Across every hall, every speaker, a human voice spoke calmly, low and unmistakable. This is Earth. This is your warning. A moment later, the main reactor core went critical. From orbit, the strike was beautiful in its precision. Terran dreadnoughts targeted support ships first, no theatrics, just total removal. High-velocity rail slugs passed clean through enemy hulls. Internal explosions were surgical, focused to disable, not explode. It was not a massacre. It was a lesson. One Zoluvian capital ship attempted to flee. A single Terran destroyer followed, latched to its side with magnetic clamps. The escape lasted 12 seconds. Commander Trilvar, pinned beneath debris in a fractured command tower, coughed dark blood. He watched a crack in the dome widen, exposing stars. A human pod landed silently beside him. Its doors opened, revealing a single Terran soldier, helmeted, calm. Trilvar hissed, "Why?" The voice modulator replied, "You started something you didn't understand." Then the Terran soldier left. Trilvar lived, by design. Hours later, hollow footage of Base Alpha's destruction went viral across the galactic web. Zoluvian civilians screamed at their screens. Some denied it. Others packed ships. Accord governors tried to downplay it as Terran propaganda, until the coordinates matched, the visuals confirmed, and survivors began speaking. They described monsters who didn't scream or rage. Just moved, struck, and vanished. Machines wrapped in flesh. One survivor, a technician, said in a trembling interview, "They didn't kill everyone. They let us go. But they wanted us to see it." Fear spread faster than light. On Earth, Councillor Rees paced the high balcony of the orbital Parliament Tower. Stars stretched over him, distant and uncaring. The council chamber behind him was split, again. Half furious at Vorn's rogue strike. Half terrified at how effective it had been. "He left survivors on purpose," Rees muttered. "He's shaping perception. He's playing God." A soft voice answered from the shadows. "He's not playing. He is the consequence." Rees turned to see Councillor Marath, once a pacifist. Now grim-eyed. She continued, "The galaxy didn't believe us when we said we were holding back. Now they believe too late." Back aboard the TDS Helix, Vorn reviewed post-strike reports in silence. Mission success. 0 Terran casualties. No secondary damage. Data feeds from the survivors confirmed psychological impact. Still, his jaw clenched. "I watched the footage again," said Lieutenant Mira, breaking the quiet. "Some of the Zoluvian crew were just kids. Some didn't even fight." "Don't mistake restraint for mercy," Vorn said flatly. Mira frowned. "Sir, are we becoming them?" Vorn looked up from his console. His voice didn't rise, but each word was deliberate. "No. They killed civilians to start a war. We left soldiers alive to end one." She didn't reply. Across the stars, fractures appeared in the Zoluvian Accord. In the Cyrox system, a planetary governor defected, broadcasting a message of surrender directly to Earth. 2 minor species revoked military support for the Accord. Others closed their borders, panicked that Terran fleets would strike next. In a quiet chamber deep within the Accord capital, Zelkarn met with his war ministers. "They know," Kareth whispered. "The humans, they weren't bluffing." Zelkarn scowled. "It doesn't matter. They struck one outpost. We have thousands. But they didn't just strike. They demonstrated," said another minister. "No warning. No losses. No debris. Just absence." Zelkarn stared into a holomap. His empire was shrinking by the hour. "They've changed." No one responded. Vorn stood alone in the observation dome, watching the glow of a dying star flicker beneath his fleet. His reflection stared back from the glass, hard, older than his years. He thought of Lyra. Her voice. Her drawings on his datapad. The way she used to hide under blankets during storms. He had no grave to visit. Just memory. "You were soft, once," said Admiral Kincaid, entering behind him. "I still am," Vorn replied. Kincaid raised a brow. "Soft men don't move fleets like that." "They do," Vorn answered. "But only after everything else is stripped away." The silence over Proxima Centauri was deafening. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that followed mass extinction. Charred orbital stations drifted like skeletal remains, silhouetted against the pale red glow of the system's dying sun. Wreckage floated in loose rings. A child's shoe rotated gently through vacuum. Commander Elias Vorn stood at the observation deck of the TDS Helix, his face hard as alloy, eyes fixed on the void. Below, the once vibrant colony of Proxima Prime now resembled the scarred shell of a burned-out planet. Blackened cities, vaporized infrastructure, no visible signs of life. "Final civilian count confirmed, sir," reported Lieutenant Mira. "Total loss. Estimated casualties, 9 million. Vorn didn't blink. "Leave the names. Don't round the dead." Mira hesitated. "Yes, Commander." He turned and walked away from the glass without another word. In his hand, he clenched a shattered comm bracelet, small, pink, designed for a child. It still bore the tiny engraving, "For Lyra, Daddy's star." He didn't cry. He hadn't for years. The Council's chamber was already in chaos when the transmission from Helix arrived. Voices overlapped, a flood of contradiction, some demanding retaliation, others pleading restraint. Vorn's face filled the center hollow, bloodless and cold. "I speak for the dead," he began. "They cannot ask for justice, so I will. I will not dress this up with diplomacy. I will not wait for your subcommittees or threat assessments. Proxima Prime has been erased. The Zoluvian Accord did this, deliberately, without provocation. We warned them." "Commander," interrupted Counselor Rees, "Earth's standing treaties still." "Treaties?" Vorn snapped. "Do you think the Accord honored any treaty when they glassed 9 million of our citizens?" Another counselor, an elder woman in blue robes, spoke more calmly. "And what would you propose, Commander? An escalation to total war?" "No. I propose we stop pretending we're not already in one." Later that night, deep beneath the oceans of Europa, Protocol Umbra unlocked. Hidden since the end of the Solar Wars, it was Earth's insurance policy, a dormant fleet of war machines powered by AI logic cores and dark energy drives, untouched by sunlight for nearly 2 centuries. Vault doors peeled open like the iris of a monstrous eye. Inside, rows of obsidian warships hummed to life. Zero-point reactors lit their hearts with silent fire. Each one bore no flag, only the symbol of Earth's unspoken fury, a single red circle on matte black hole. On the surface, storms raged. Below, vengeance awakened. Vorn stood in the CIC as the Helix completed orbital stabilization over Luna Base. Around him, his staff worked in cold efficiency. No one spoke unnecessarily. Everyone had lost someone. Status of the Cradle fleet, he asked. Fully online. Cloaking verified. AI cores synced. Awaiting launch vectors, said Tactical Officer Rain. Target? Soluvian Forward Base Alpha, sir. 600 light-years. Border skirmish zone. Any civilian presence? Rain hesitated. Minimal. Mostly military traffic. Scans show heavy defense grid, 6 capital ships docked. Vorn nodded once. Begin silent approach. Launch Black Ops infiltration ahead of main strike. I want that base gutted. But leave survivors. A few heads turned. One officer frowned. Sir? They need to see, Vorn said. They need to know what it feels like. He left the bridge and returned to his quarters, where darkness greeted him. On the wall, a single holo still flickered, a photo, him, a little girl, in a telescope. Her hair caught sunlight like fire. Her smile looked straight into his soul. He let the silence stretch. Then he whispered. They burned you, Lyra. So we'll burn everything they hide behind. In the Zoluvian Accord's capital, High Regent Zelkarn paced the crystalline floor of his throne hall. His advisors presented intercepted transmissions from Earth's fleets, fragmented, distorted, but unmistakable in intent. They are mobilizing, said Minister Kareth, clicking nervously. Cradle signatures have been confirmed. The humans, they're activating black fleets. Zelkarn smirked. Let them. Earth has barked for centuries and never bitten. They cling to treaties, morals, emotion. They are slow, sentimental. Another aide entered, pale and shaking. Forgive the intrusion, my regent. But, our outpost at Proxima, it seems they left no one alive. They'll negotiate, Zelkarn said dismissively. They always do. Earth is a candle flickering at the edge of the dark. We are the flame. But the flame did not know the storm it had lit. Back aboard Helix, Vorn watched final preparations for deployment. The ships moved like sharks in black water, graceful, precise, lethal. No brass bands. No flags. Just purpose. Fleet jump calculated, Mara said quietly. Strike window in 4 hours. Vorn tapped a control on his chair. The screen lit up with the image of a young recruit, one of the thousands on his ships. Barely 20. Nervous. Brave. Her eyes flickered as the message played. This is not a war for conquest, Vorn said. This is not about revenge. This is about warning the stars what happens when humanity stops holding back. We offered peace. They answered with fire. Now, we answer in kind. He leaned back, quiet. Then, execute. FTL drive surged. Space twisted. The void trembled. Earth's silence was over. The war didn't end with a declaration. It ended with silence. In the span of 6 weeks, Earth's black fleets moved like whispers through the stars, dismantling Zoluvian military infrastructure piece by piece. No drawn-out campaigns. No conventional sieges. Just precision strikes, withdrawal, and warnings. By the time the Accord realized what was happening, 23 military outposts were offline, no communications, no survivors, just orbital wreckage and quiet. Even the most hardened Zoluvian commanders began disabling beacons and fleeing in unmarked civilian transports. It wasn't conquest. It was erasure. Commander Elias Vorn stood at the core of TDS Helix, watching a wall of data streams. The Cradle fleet had gone dark again, dispersing the hidden staging zones. Earth hadn't claimed any territory. It hadn't issued terms. It had simply made a statement: this is what happens when humanity stops holding back. Status of Zoluvian command hierarchy, he asked. Mara pulled up the display. Fragmented. 3 major warlords declare autonomy. The primary Accord capital is in stasis lockdown. Their parliament hasn't convened in over a week. Any fleet regrouping? Only defensive posturing. They're not retaliating. Vorn nodded once, slowly. Good. That means they're listening. In the burning wreck of the Syros Belt refinery hub, 2 children were found alive inside a shielded substructure. Terran medics extracted them. One of the soldiers, a giant in obsidian armor, handed the girl a ration bar, knelt beside her, and offered her a blanket. "Are you here to kill us?" she asked, voice trembling. He shook his head. "No. We came to make sure no one ever hurts you again." He didn't say it was Soluvian forces who had destroyed the station trying to bait a Terran response. He didn't need to. Zelkarn sat in a darkened chamber beneath the capital citadel, far from the remaining military councils. The ornate banners of the Accord had been removed. His own ceremonial armor lay beside him, polished but unused. He was watching the same transmission for the 5th time. The human girl. The ration bar. The soldier kneeling. He leaned forward, pausing at the frame showing the soldier's hand gently wrapping the blanket around the child. "They're monsters," he muttered. "They kill without mercy, and yet..." Karath stood beside him, exhausted. "We provoked them. Burned a colony. Killed millions. And they still held back." Zelkarn's jaw tightened. "We believed their silence was weakness. And now?" Zelkarn didn't answer. He didn't have to. Back on Earth, the Council convened in private, this time without shouting. They no longer debated whether humanity had gone too far. They now debated how far it might be pushed again. "Vorn hasn't answered a direct inquiry in days," Reese said. "We don't even know the Cradle fleet's location." Councillor Marath sat quietly, hands folded. "He's done more for Earth's security in 6 weeks than we managed in 6 decades. That's not the point." "No," she replied. "The point is, he showed them. He showed everyone that Earth's silence was never a weakness. It was a kindness." Vorn walked alone through Helix's lower archives, the only part of the ship still lit by manual fixtures. It was quiet. Dim, human. He paused beside an old projection tank. A family video played, grainy footage of Lyra running through a Terran beach field, sand under her feet, hair caught in the breeze. Her laugh filled the room. He closed his eyes. Behind him, Admiral Kincaid entered. "You've done what you came to do," she said gently. "No," Vorn said. "I did what they made me do. They're backing down. For now. But memory fades." Kincaid nodded. "Then remind them." Quietly. He turned. "I'm not a diplomat. You don't have to be. Just keep the sword sharp where they can see it." Across the galaxy, broadcasts from Proxima survivors began appearing in syndicate channels. Survivors who remembered the Accord's cruelty. Families who lost generations in a single orbital burn. But also testimonies from rescued colonies. Soluvian civilians spared. Infrastructure left untouched. Quiet footage of Terran soldiers rebuilding a destroyed hospital instead of claiming it. They weren't just warriors. They were witnesses. The galaxy started to understand. A final message was sent from Earth to the Accord capital, encoded in old Solar War encryption. It read: "This was not war. This was restraint. If you come again, we will not hold back what comes after." Zelkarn read it in silence, then turned off the console. There was no reply. On TDS Helix, Vorn stood on the bridge, overlooking Earth in the distance. Blue. Alive. Whole. Mara approached with a report. Cradle fleet is rotating to low-visibility orbit near Titan. Orders? He stared out the window for a long moment. Let them rest. No drills. No training. No simulations. Just, give them back their silence. Mara hesitated. And if they return? Vorn's eyes didn't leave the planet. Then we show them again. The galaxy held its breath. In the weeks following Earth's final broadcast, nothing moved near human space. Trade lanes rerouted. Exploration vessels altered their flight plans. Galactic media, once quick to paint humanity as an unstable wild card, now described them in hushed tones, like people whispering about a ghost they weren't sure was still listening. But silence, like peace, was fragile. And far less permanent. Aboard the TDS Helix, Commander Elias Vorn stood before a wall of orbital scan data. The galaxy had gone quiet, but quiet didn't mean safe. Quiet meant coiling tension, waiting for one misstep. Mara approached with urgency. Sir, we picked up a data burst from the fringe colonies. Encrypted Terran channel. Not ours. He didn't speak, just held out his hand. She handed him the drive. The transmission was raw, shaky. Civilian origin. A mining outpost on the edge of the Harkon expanse, Terran settlers, mostly refugees, broadcast an emergency signal moments before it cut out. No hostile IDs. No return fire. Just a sudden disappearance. The footage played on loop, a family eating dinner. Lights flicker. A child points to the window. A dark shape outside, then static. Vorn leaned forward, eyes narrowing. They waited, he said. They waited until they thought we stopped watching. Hours later, a reconnaissance drone confirmed the worst. Outpost 9X Harkon, gone. No atmosphere. Lifeless, burned black from orbit. No claim by the Zoluvian Accord. No fleet signatures. Just traces of a third-party weapon, older, untraceable. Someone wanted deniability. They wanted to poke the giant and vanish before the dust settled. But Vorn wasn't built to let ghosts disappear. The council convened immediately. Counselor Mareth joined via secure channel, her face pale. You think this was the Accord? No, Vorn replied. They're cowards, but not fools. Someone else wants to break the silence. Rees leaned forward. Then who? Vorn's gaze was cold. Anyone who profited from chaos. Pirates. Private military syndicates. Old empires waiting to return. Someone is betting we'll hesitate again. Mareth spoke quietly. Will we? No, Vorn said. Aboard the TDS Helix, Fleet Command opened sealed orders, Operation Emberline. No wide-scale retaliation. No grand displays. This would be different, personal, precise. Find the perpetrators. Deliver the message. Vanish. The Cradle fleet split into splinters, like glass thrown across space. At the edge of the Charik Rift, an aging weapons platform blinked to life, unaware of what approached. It wasn't registered under any known banner, but its logs showed massive data traffic and supply runs in recent weeks, likely mercenary activity. 2 Terran stealth cruisers slid out of subspace. The platform's AI barely detected them before it was dismantled. No explosions, just power loss, precision sabotage, and a systems wipe. Vorn stood aboard the lead ship, watching the platform's last moments. This is where the payment originated, Mara said, showing the trace. Then this is where we leave our mark, Vorn replied. Across the stars, whispers began anew. An illegal arms syndicate station was gutted in 22 minutes. Its leaders found suffocated in sealed command decks. A transmission left behind, don't mistake Earth's silence for absence. In the criminal underworld, fear spread faster than bounty offers. But still, someone persisted. In the Asheron corridor, a convoy of Terran refugees was attacked en route to a neutral colony. It didn't make the news. But it reached Vorn. 12 ships. 300 souls. Gone without trace, except for a single beacon ejected before the destruction. It transmitted one word. Help. Vorn read the report alone in his quarters. For several minutes, he said nothing. Then he summoned the command channel. Ready the Leviathan-class carrier. No more precision strikes. We burn the web this time. The TDS monolith exited FTL above the rim of the Bale Drift, its size eclipsing even the largest stations in orbit. Known as Earth's most powerful mobile fortress, it had not been deployed in a generation. This time, it came alone. Inside the drift, a coalition of syndicates, remnants of old regimes, warlords, opportunists, had made their base. They didn't flee. They didn't surrender. They simply watched, frozen, as the monolith opened its launch bays. And the void answered. Precision kinetic strikes eliminated power hubs. EMP charges neutralized defense grids. Terran strike teams moved through hull corridors like ghosts, disabling, not destroying. The fleet was dismantled in under an hour. The final act wasn't death, it was broadcast. Each captured leader was shown live, confessing the attacks on Harkon and Asheron. Their sponsors. Their funding. Who gave the order? Vorn didn't need to speak. He let the truth do the damage. Later, back aboard the Helix, Mara stood beside him at the viewport. The stars blinked as if nothing had happened. They won't forget this, she said. They will, Vorn replied. She turned to him. But we didn't destroy them. No, he said. We exposed them. That's worse. Let them spend their lives fearing the knock that never comes. She nodded. Do you ever rest, sir? I rest every time they hesitate. On Earth, the people didn't cheer. They didn't chant Vorn's name. No statues were built. No songs written. Just a quiet acceptance that the silence was preserved. And that someone had paid for it.